Hey, check out that video, Anton. That's better than yours. I ain't joking. Hi everybody, it's Russ from Miami's 11. Hope you're safe and well. New to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so made aware of any time I put new content on. We have videos going up daily, and I wouldn't want you to miss any videos. So make sure you hit that bell icon, because every story, every guest is brilliant and priceless. And we have another foreign hammer from not around these waters. You can just see the flag just behind him, next to the West Ham flag, of course. Irons United, you'd have seen him. He's obviously a foreign analyst for Premier League productions as well. Outside the UK, you probably recognise him. Obviously, inside the UK, unless you get a dodgy feed, you won't know who he is. It's Rich Faasen. Hi, Rich. How you doing, man?
Oh, Russ, fantastic, mate. Thanks for having me on. How you doing?
Absolute pleasure. Sticky. I'm very sticky. I'm just moving my globe. Otherwise, Alf will take the piss out of me. So I'm moving my... It's a mic, God knows. Yeah, very sticky. I don't like hot weather, I'll be honest. Yeah. I'm not very good. Although I'm one of those people who will be in his shorts until like November, December. But when it's really hot, I don't like it. And I'm a bit sticky.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a massive shock to the system for you guys, because we're used to it over here.
That's
but
what
in the UK, it must be a real shock.
It is, and I mean, we spoke to all the guys in like all the American hammers, and in like New Orleans and Atlanta, and they're used to this sort of like 36, 37, but even 33 in the UK is just unbearable. It's like when it snows. It's like when it snows, we get like a centimetre of snow, and everything shuts down. Whereas, I've been to Iceland, and they've literally been driving through 2 foot of snow, like it's nothing. It's the Brits don't cope well with weather fluctuations, and we moan, and we're dying for some rain now, and it's like as soon as it rains we'll be like pissed off because it's the summer and it's raining. It makes no sense.
Yeah, madness.
Absolute craziness. But not as hot as over there in South Africa, by the way, if you haven't realised. Rich is South African. The accent didn't give it away. How's things over there for you, man, with everything, all the pandemic and stuff like that for you?
Yeah, mate, it's been a big struggle actually for us. We've had to adapt quite a bit. I know my parents have struggled a bit with work, I think, like everyone. It's been a big shock to everyone's system. We've been in lockdown for a terribly long time. There's still an alcohol ban, which should be lifted hopefully in the next couple of days, but I think that's been quite a struggle for people that love their beer and whiskeys, etc. Cigarettes have been banned for the last 4 months, which has been a big shock for a lot of people as well. There was even a rule at one point where you'd wake up and you could only go for runs between 6 and 9 a.m. So people are going like, that's mental. I mean, if you can't get out at that time, that's crazy. So that for me was a big shock, and you weren't even able to leave your house. So it was really strict. So I think everyone's just kind of over it now and hoping that slowly but surely the restrictions will be lifted.
But I prefer, it sounds weird, but I prefer that when it's like they're strict. There's no grey area. You go, you don't go. The trouble is with this country, it was always, you can go for exercise. It's okay, well, once a day. Well, it's like there's no curfew when you can go out, and the Brits, you give them an inch and they'll take a mile. And it's like I don't. The no alcohol and no cigarettes. That's a bit of a killer, but. Why is that? Why do you think that is? Have they explained why?
The real reason is that there's massive corruption in this country, as I'm sure you guys know. And basically what's happened is you've got a lady who had links to our former president who decided to ban cigarettes. But what she's doing is she's got a heavy links with the illegal cigarette trade. So she's making massive money day in, day out while these cigarettes are banned. It's going in her back pocket. So it's actually really sad. It's shocking what's happening in our country. So it is really sad. And as you said, with people in the UK, unfortunately here we have the exact same problem. People never really listen when rules are set. And unfortunately, if you have a couple of people that don't listen, the whole system gets broken. So that's exactly what's happening here.
So. Same as here. You get people like, we have to wear face masks in shops and stuff like that, and it winds me up, when people don't. It doesn't take a lot, even if you go.
Exactly.
I've seen people double turn and gone, even if they went like this, fair enough. At least they forgot their mask, but they're making an effort. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But it's nothing's going to help unless everyone does it all together. That's basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in lighter news, we say less pandemic based. We're still in the Premier League. That's enough. That's enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't lie. At one point, I was proper shitting myself that we're going to go down. I think it was after the Spurs game where we lost in the Wolves game, and I didn't see any fight left in the lads.
Yeah.
And I really was worried. I looked at my old man and I said, "Dad, we're down. We're down. I just don't see what we've got left." And luckily, we managed to put together some really good performances towards the end of the season, and thank God for that, because else we could have easily been in the Championship.
Yeah, we could have easily been. But I know what you mean. I mean, that Wolves game was appalling. But then again, even before lockdown, we would have probably still lost to Wolves, probably about the same result, because they were a good team. Yeah. And then that Spurs game, you saw a little bit, but not enough. I agree. And then we were just the informed team towards the end. It was like, what the fuck's going on here? Mikel Antonio. What?
Thank God for Antonio.
Whose boots has he nicked? It's like what's going on here? But I know what you mean. And typically, we hit our best form just as the season ends, and then everyone buggers off for 6 weeks to go on holiday. So is what it is. I mean, I think they're back in training on Monday. I think they've had 3 weeks off, which seems to have flown by. It seems to have flown by those 3 weeks.
Unbelievable.
I know, it's just crazy, but hopefully we won't have this sort of deluge of games that we've had so far, because I couldn't keep up. There was too many games for my liking. I love football, but there was too many. It's like, I like it, but not too much. I'd miss games without realising. You look at your phone at 7 o'clock and you've missed 3 games. But how the fuck have I done that? But the boy's done well, and fair play to Moyes. He's done it again. They brought it in second time. He's done it twice. It's not once might be a fluke, but I think
fair play to him, because I was over in the UK. I watched Pellegrini's last 2 games in charge.
Yeah.
And then I obviously watched David Moyes' first game in charge against Bournemouth, and there was a lot of negativity when he first got brought in.
Yep.
A lot of people were going, this is a really underwhelming appointment. He's been here already. We're going back. It's embarrassing. And I kind of was on that train. I was thinking to myself, good Lord, have we really gone back to someone we deemed not good enough a couple of months prior?
Yeah.
But fair play to him. He knuckled down. He made some big decisions, and we got the job done, which I guess is all he could do, and he's done that. So let's see now. Hopefully the owners give him a bit of a war chest. I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest, in terms of finances. But we can hope, I guess.
We can hope, and I think you're right. And I think there's a blueprint there of what he sees as the vision for the club in terms of the players he brought in. Yeah, obviously, to be fair, he walked in and the cupboards were bare. There was no scouting reports. There was no scouts apart from one bloke, and he did it. And I felt really sorry for him. But he managed to, despite that, he managed to pull off, Bowen and Souček coming in, who arguably are been our best 2 players since restart, and also unknown for a West Ham team, we could have sold them tomorrow and make a profit.
Which never happens with us.
Fucking hell, a profit. You double your money on Souček, no problem, and maybe even Bowen as well. And clearly that's the model. It makes so much business sense. Not just from a football perspective, but get hungry young players in, and then build them up. And if they use it as a stepping stone, well, for the time being, I think that's our position at the moment. If we get 2 good 3 seasons out of them, straight away the fans have taken to Souček and Bowen, because they put a shift in, and more than anyone, they don't have to be the best player in the world, but if they try, we forget that they're not very good.
That's all we ask for. Yeah.
That's all we ask for, exactly, and that's what we're going to get. And so, I just think it's the right way to go, and I think he's been very shrewd. Bringing someone like Kevin Nolan in, you can see since restart we've become this sort of domineering corner team, which we've never been really. I don't, apart from maybe when Kevin was playing, we were good at corners, and now we're really good at corners. And which again, it's like little things like that. Like I think Gonzo did it in one of his Hammers chat videos. He spoke of us, and now we're like the land of the giants. Now we're taking long throws. It's like it's totally different, but it's working. And I've every season I have blind optimism in the close season that this season's going to be our year. I'll give them 3 games. I know 3 games, and then I'll be back to square one again. But
I'm exactly the same. Every
really
single
excited.
season, I think we're going to win the Premier League, and then now look. I mean,
right.
I still reckon. I still reckon we can be optimistic. I see no reason why we can't crack top 8 next season if we just get our shit together for one season.
Yeah.
You know, it can happen, but unfortunately with West Ham, it doesn't happen as much as we'd like.
You're totally right. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he said, you know, West Ham is so unpredictable. They could win the league or they could be relegated, and neither would surprise me. And that's the thing with West. It's so true, isn't it? It's like I think that's why we support them, because we could be Man City fans or Chelsea or Liverpool fans, and you're just you're guaranteed 4th place, and but I wouldn't want that. Although I hate a relegation scrap, it was exciting, and I would like now a couple of boring Sam Allardyce, Alan Kirbishley seasons where we finish like 10th to 13th, and have a good cup run. That would do me for the time being. But anyway, Rich, so obviously, you're in South Africa, you got the West Ham shirt, you got the flag on. The first question I ask everyone is, why West Ham? Why is West Ham your club, Rich?
Look, I mean, it was something passed down to me from my old man, and I absolutely adore him for that. He grew up in Zimbabwe, actually. He was born in Zambia, grew up in Zimbabwe, and he was one of 3 boys. He sent letters to West Ham as a young kid. His brother sent to Everton, and his other brother sent to Arsenal. And my dad was the only one who got a reply from the club. He got a personalized reply letter saying, thank you for your message, blah, blah, blah. And from that moment on, my dad was just absolutely hooked. Obviously, he was very much in love with West Ham, following the likes of Bobby Moore, 1966 winners and stuff. And he had that alliance to them from that. Passed it down to me, and I knew from day one that it wasn't about the glory. It wasn't about us winning trophies. But I just absolutely fell in love with the tradition of the club. And I read about our history, and I was just absolutely hooked on that. Yeah. And I absolutely have never looked back. I've seen us get relegated multiple times. I've seen us get our hearts broken in FA Cup finals. Yeah. I've seen us win championship playoffs, so it's been an absolute roller coaster ride, but I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't change anything about my journey as a West Ham fan. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, no, I get that, and it's funny. I mean, it's probably the most unusual story we've had, because obviously I think you're about 145th guest we've had on. I think roughly, give or take a couple. And every story is different, but your one is brilliant. So your dad wrote to the club and they answered back. Absolutely love it. And you're right. And what I love it, even from an early age, you realised it wasn't about the football. It wasn't about the glory, because you backed the wrong horse, if that's the case. Basically, to be perfectly honest. I mean, absolutely. But obviously now, obviously you do stuff with Irons United and stuff. It's not about. It's about the community, and it's about obviously the friends you've met. So obviously, the guys, Anton and Stel and Alf and Jim and people like that, and that's what I think being a West Ham fan's all about. It really is. It's not about watching them on Sky or whatever. Even going to a game. It's about the relationship and the friendships you make going to the football.
Absolutely,
I think that's what people miss.
Absolutely, mate. So I mean, how Irons United started for me was. It was middle of 2016, and I got a Facebook request from Anthony Baker, and I thought to myself, who the hell is this? Yeah. And he ended up going, I see you're a West Ham fan, you're from South Africa, would you like to get involved? At that point in time, I would never have believed that I would have come over to the UK twice, met up with the lads, done all the stuff for Irons United, shared a bed with Anton in some random person's house on the first night when I went over to the UK, and made these incredible friends all over the UK that I keep in contact with almost daily, just from that Facebook friend request. It's absolutely unbelievable how life works. And I guess, as you say, I mean, that side of being a West Ham fan is so special that I've been able to make those connections, and I'll remember that to the grave. It's those connections that are so special to me. So I've loved every minute of that.
Oh, totally. And I mean, this is relatively. I mean, compared to the Irons guys and various others, I mean, this is a relatively new channel. But even in the last 3 or 4 months, how long it's been going, it's I know exactly what you mean. I've met some incredible people all over the world, and as you said, people that are still that I'm in regular contact with now, and you're thousands of miles apart, from me, but we're chatting because of this badge, and it's mental when you think about it. When I spoke to the Indian Hammers, and their guys are in Bangalore, and again.
Unreal.
Mental. We had the same top on, and it's brilliant. And obviously, you're privy to a lot of information in terms of, I've been in part of lots of the Facebook groups and stuff now, and there's obviously people who've had tragedy and stuff during in the lockdown particularly, and everyone just bands together, and it just gives you such a warm feeling inside that everyone.
West Ham family. It
is, mate. And we talk about it. Yeah, we talk about it. But it's true, and it's so true. And I don't think anyone else has that. You know what I mean? It's like I might be biased, but you watch Arsenal fan TV and stuff like that, and they always seem to be at each other's throats. We just seem to be. And we're doing. Obviously, we've got some stuff coming up soon. We're doing some. I'm doing a charity event soon where we're getting Anton involved and the Hammers Chat guys,
brilliant.
And so we get so so it's beautiful. It's one of those things I can't actually voice how I feel, because I think it's so lovely that everyone just gets on. And
when I got really emotional, mate, was when I came over this last December. I'd obviously visited Anton in December 2016 when I met him for the first time, but I came over this last December again, and I managed to get tickets to Palace away. And just singing with those West Ham fans in the way, and I had Stal next to me, I almost wanted to cry. It was just I was just overcome with emotion, because this is what I've lived for my entire life, and to be with those 2,500 West Ham away fans just singing our lungs out. That's what it all came down to for me, and it just culminated so beautifully in that moment. I was almost in tears next to my brother. It was really unbelievable moment. So yeah,
it's one of those things. I think. Whenever it may be that we can get the 60,000 back in London Stadium and everyone's there singing together, I think everyone will be a similar situation, because I think everyone's missed that, and even if it's I don't know 20% filled, it's not going to be the same as until when it's 80, 60, 100%. You just
Absolutely.
need that collectivity, and I think that's what people have missed. Obviously, because a lot of people are on their own and stuff, and West Ham might be the only time that they actually see people on a Saturday. So it's. But we had the watch-alongs and the Zoom parties and things like that to keep everyone going. People have adjusted quite well, I think, to this. And it means we're getting loads of YouTube stuff. Obviously, the stuff that the Irons United stuff's doing, Nigel's stuff he did the other day. It's all great. Keeps everyone going, doesn't it? It's quite funny, and I think it's all a bit tongue in cheek, isn't it, man? And that's what we like. You can't take yourselves too seriously, these things. I think some people do, and I just don't think West Ham fans do. I think they, I love all Gonzo and Gio stuff on Hammers Chat. I think they're brilliant, and obviously Nicky's stuff on West Ham Fan TV, and all the other stuff, Free Hammers. Everyone's brilliant, and everyone's come on the channel. We've had a really good giggle, and I'm looking forward to this charity event. It's going to be good. So we're raising money from Newham Food Banks. So because they do all the collections during match days. So buckets.
Yes.
And obviously, there's been no match days, so they're a bit.
Of course.
So we're working with them. So it'll be good fun. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be
fair play, mate. Well done to you for that. That's brilliant.
I was approached a couple of weeks' time, so it's gonna be good. Anyway, we're talking about that. We're talking about you, man, and we're gonna talk about your Hammers 11, because that's what I'm looking forward to. So the basic idea is we've had 140 odd guests, and we get people to pick their 11. So the only rule is you have to be alive to have seen them play. Not necessarily have seen them play live, because that sort of means you're somewhat restricted, but being alive to see play. So it means obviously that you and me can't put in Bobby Moore or Jeff Hurst into our teams. We can put in Roger Johnson and Ilian. Midu. We haven't given Midu a shout out.
Benny McCarthy, good old South African.
trying to get him on the channel. Trying to get Benny on, man. No. But yeah, we could put Big Benny on if we wanted to. But yeah, and that's the idea. So we can and I think we've had something close to 200 different players have popped up. Obviously, some regular ones and then some unsung heroes and stuff. And it just gives everyone a chance to, look back nostalgically at what's happened at the players they've seen.
Yeah.
So, for your 11, Rich, we'll start off in goal.
Yeah.
We'll start between the sticks for you, man. Who's between the sticks?
Okay, so my choice is Rob Green. When I came over in 2009 to watch the Hammers play, he played in goal that day. So I've got a bit of an affinity with him. I would have liked to have potentially gone with someone like Lucas Fabianski, but I just feel like he's got a bit more to prove. He's still a bit new to the club. I do think he's one of the best keepers we've had. I think he's class. But I'm going to go with Robert Green. I mean, when he played for us, he was England #1. Obviously, he started for England in the World Cup in 2010 in my home country, and obviously he had that absolute howler that everyone seems to remember him for. Yeah. But he also had a lot of fantastic times in a West Ham shirt, and he kept us in a lot of games. He was really loyal, got relegated with us, came back up with us. So yeah, my choice in goal is good old Robert Green.
Yeah, and again, we talk about us not taking ourselves too seriously. He didn't either. He, even now, he's got a European Cup winner on his bio, despite the fact he didn't, and you hear him when he's at us, he had England #6 stitched on his glove, didn't he, and stuff like that. I love people because I think that's the one thing that's really, really I've noticed definitely since doing this channel, and I have sort of looking back and reflecting. You don't get characters now in football as many. It's like having. Robert Green, or even earlier, even sort of the Martin Allens, and you don't get them in the game anymore. It's almost become so professional that, and then the people that do almost stand out for the wrong reasons. So, like someone like Jack Grealish, everyone goes, he's a right tosser, but he's got a bit of a personality about him. Do you know what I mean? And I think it sticks
absolutely.
out. And that's why people like Declan Rice stick out like a sore thumb, because they have a leadership quality that not a lot of people have, and it's really, and someone like Greeno was, and that's what, and with goalkeepers they have an affinity with the fans, don't they? Because obviously, the fans that are going to the game, they always they're in front of them for 45 minutes, so they always have a close. And Robert Green seems to have a really strong affinity with the West Ham fans, and you're right, he came down and came back up with us, and that's all. Respect to that.
I was actually lucky enough to. So I watched us relegate Middlesbrough on the final day in 2009 when Zola was our manager. Yeah. And I was lucky enough to go to the stadium the day before. We played on the Sunday, and a mate of my dad's managed to get us to go watch the lads train on the stadium pitch on the Saturday.
Nice.
And after the training session, I obviously waited outside. I was, maybe 10 or 11 at the time. I'm only 22 now. And I was there with my autograph book and my pens. And I had a quick chat with Rob Green, and my dad actually had a South African Supporters Club trophy because the South African Hammers had voted Greeno as their player of the year. And he managed to give it to Greeno, and he was so appreciative, and he said, thanks so much, that's fantastic. I think off the field, he's also a top man, and I respect him for that. So,
and if anything else, I mean, he's fantastic sort of lockdown haircut. More than anything, sort of Sheamus from WWE, it's like.
I believe that's that hairstyle. I was laughing.
With the Tiger King sort of like goatee as well. I just see, and the way he just, and the way when he did that TV interview, and he didn't make no joke. He was like, he just like so deadpan, and everyone was like, "What the fuck's going on with it?" But he just carried on, and I absolutely love him for that. Right, okay, Greeno's in. Rich, you go through the team as you want to, man. Whatever order you want to go through it in.
Okay, cool. So I'll just go from back to front. So I've chosen 3 at the back, mostly due to the fact that during my time as watching West Ham, we haven't really been a team that's kept many clean sheets. We've been a team that leaks a lot of goals, but there are a few characters here in this back 3 that I really respect and that have made me really love the club. So I'm going to start off with none other than Mr. Ginge himself, James Collins at centre back.
The old GP.
He is just an absolute hero of mine. Obviously, he had spells at Villa in between, but he was just one player that genuinely loved the club, and the fans absolutely adored him. And he was hard as nails, used to score some important goals for us. And even in more recent times, there were cases where he'd go on an away day with the West Ham fans when he was injured, or he just, he was that type of character, proper lad, and someone that you could really get behind. And I was so proud to watch someone like him play in Claret and Blue. Proper hero of mine. Also one of those characters that doesn't really give a shit what people think about himself. He embraces the fact that he's ginger. Look, I mean, I'm even ginger as well, so I can resonate with him. So yeah, I love that about him, and he was just an absolute maverick at the back. So
and I mean, I preferred him. Someone else picked James Collins, and they were talking about his first spell, and I don't really remember much about his first spell, to be perfectly honest. I remember his second spell because he came back as a more. Obviously, he's playing at Villa. He's playing with Richard Dunn. He came back as like a veteran defender. He had the skinhead, or as much as he shaved it as much as he could, and he just came back with the beard, and he just looked more West Hammy. Do you know what I mean? And you're right. And he has an affiliation. I love a player who throws his shirt in the crowd, but genuinely, not just like ceremoniously, but he'll pick a kid out and hand his shirt. And he always did that. And for me, I love people who do that because it doesn't take a lot. You know what I mean? It's like nowadays, even more so now, it's not about autographs and things like that anymore. It's about getting a like or someone following you or a retweet from and you're like, fuck hell. And it doesn't take a lot for that. And again, taking your shirt off, which wasn't yours anyway, and giving it to a little kid makes their day. And as you said, like with you and Greeno, spending time with him, 10 minutes of his time, and you'll remember that for the rest of your life.
And actually, lucky enough, through Premier League productions. So it's funny. There's a couple of players in this 11 that I've actually managed to chat to on Premier League TV, only over Skype. But my face is in the studio and they're chatting. And Ginge was one of the guys I managed to chat to, and he was just a proper character on the call, full of banter. And what really came through when he chatted to me was how much he genuinely loves West Ham. West Ham is his club, and he can't speak highly enough of the fans. So yeah, he's just an absolute hero of mine. So ledge.
All right, GP's in. Okay, who's next, man?
Okay, so I'm going to go with James Tompkins.
Oh, Tompkins, yes.
So good old Tonks.
Yes.
Obviously one of the many decent lads that has come through our academy, our esteemed academy, which has actually struggled to produce any decent players that have gone on to do great things. Obviously, our academy's got a fantastic name from past players that have come through. I still think we've got work to do now to get some of our players through, because I find that they get to, the first team level and then they end up playing in League Two and you kind of forget about them. But he was one player that came through, was super raw when he first started out at West Ham, but he actually turned into quite a diamond. And I was actually really upset when we sold him to Palace. I still think that was a bit of a 10 million for Tonks. I think we could have held on to him, and I think he would have been decent for us. We've kind of struggled to find a really solid centre-back pairing since he left. And he was a proper West Ham boy, so that's my other choice of centre-back.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And you're right. It's one of those players, it's all hindsight is a great thing. But I remember clearly we sold him, and then I think we had like 2 or 3 centre-backs got injured, or, it's like, oh, fuck's sake. And it's the same thing with like this year with like Fabianski, we let Adrian go, we bring in these 2 veterans. Yeah, that's okay, they're not going to play. And then Fabianski, and then basically our season buggers up. Roberto plays, Pellegrini loses his job, and like the dominoes effect. But Tompkins, I mean, he's a proper West Ham boy, still is a West Ham boy. When I interviewed Jack Collison, he put Tonks in, and he talks about him and Jack when they were both going to take being their sort of first team debut and on the squad away to Arsenal, and how they sort of like found out in a lift in high, and they sort of went, by the way, bring your tracksuit, you're playing. And then as the doors close, they're like proper like American teen comedy. And literally that's what we were like. And it was like you can just see that. And I love a versatile player. I mean, Tonks played left back right back rather for a few games as well. And I love players who aren't so pigeonholed that they can only play one position. Yeah, that's why someone like Antonio, because he can play so many different positions, to his detriment until recently. But Tompkins, good shout. Okie doke, who's next then, Rich?
Okay, so to complete the back three, I've gone with Winston Reid.
Rito.
Rito, yeah. So this is more of it's actually a bittersweet selection because I think of when he first joined the club. Obviously, I'll never forget when the 2010 FIFA World Cup finished, and you had Golden Sullivan going, "We are about to sign one of the most promising players from the World Cup," and I'm going, "Oh, he's a Spaniard or he's a German," and they went, "Yeah, it's Winston Reid," and I went, "What? Who the fuck?" You know.
Yeah.
He scored a good goal in the World Cup for them, and he was an unknown prodigy. But he came to West Ham and he made West Ham his own, and scored some really important goals. I'll never forget, obviously, the winner against Man United, his goal against Millwall to win us that game. So he turned into a proper hammer, and it is really sad how the last 3 or 4 seasons have gone for him, because in his prime, he was as solid a centre-back as we could have asked for. Yeah. So, yeah, I wish him all the best, but he makes my back three. I'll give him credit.
He's been here 10 years now. Technically, he's still in the book. Obviously, we sold, and I was exactly the same. The World Cup, I made a point. I was like, here we go. We're getting Nesta. We're getting Ramos. Oh my God! What? Sorry, New Zealand. What? Sorry, from Denmark, from Midtjylland, £4 million. But I do remember watching that World Cup and thinking he looked a good little play, because I don't think they conceded a goal, New Zealand, despite that being New Zealand in that whole World Cup. And I remember thinking he's not a bad player, but yeah, it was dressed up a lot as it's total marketing spin on it, really, isn't it? But I mean, and it's funny because like someone like Reid and Collins, it's just about personalities, really, because Reid's obviously New Zealand and Danish. He's quite a reserved character, where Collins is Welsh. He's fiery, and it's funny how although we respect Reid, the fans have warmed to Collins more. It's funny how the personalities, despite the fact they've been around roughly the same time, on and off, for West Ham. But I just think it's a shame what's happened with him. We'll see. He's technically back, isn't it? I think.
What's actually happening with him? What's happening? Because obviously he went to the States, and
he was on loan, wasn't he? And then he was on loan to Salt Lake, I want to say. And then I think, but then the MLS season, is it finished? Yeah, I mean it was still going on. It's going on at the moment, isn't it? So the bubble, they're doing it in the bubble in Florida, aren't they? So I imagine he's still there. But
how long is he contracted with us until? I
thought he still got another year on his contract. I don't know, but
imagine Rito comes back and plays for us. That would be crazy.
It'd be great.
I'd love it to happen.
It'd be his testimonial year.
Yeah,
10 years.
Can't believe it's been 10, Matt.
Yeah, it is 2010, wasn't it? So anyway, Rito's in. So that's the back three. Ashley's Kipper. Who is next? Then?
Okay, so my centre defensive midfielder. Now this is going to be kind of controversial, because I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would have gone with Nobes as their centre mid, and obviously I love him to bits, and he's Mr. West Ham. But there's one lad that just stands out for me, and that genuinely made me fall in love with West Ham more, and that's Scotty Parker. And
I thought you was going to say Jonathan Spector, but okay.
Scotty Parker, hard as nails, genuinely as nice a guy off the field that he is on the field. Leader, maverick. I'll never forget his goals that he scored against us. Well, the one that he scored against us against Wigan at the Bowling Ground. I think it was to win 3-2, and he ran over to Zola and just embraced him. And he was just someone that I was proud to watch. And even in the season when we went down, in that dire season we went down with Avram Grant as our manager, he still managed to get Writers' Player of the Year, which is kind of just like unheard of. Mental. I mean, that's what De Bruyne is winning now. Scotty Parker won that back in that season. So, yeah, for me, he was an absolute hero on the field. So he makes my CDM position.
And I think actually obviously it's great that he'll be back, with Fulham. That's fantastic. I'm really pleased for him. And you heard his interview afterwards. Obviously they've created into a meme with the streets. Which
I've seen that.
But you can tell he just loves the game, and he loves and I think I think also you talk about Nobes, but I think Nobes and Deck, their impact has come from Scott Parker. So you could see when Scott Parker was playing, Nobes was his deputy, and it was almost like, and also he sort of passed on that Scotty turn. Like little 360. Nobes is a little 360,
absolutely.
and now he's passed it on to Deck, like this sort of circle of life, like Kuna Matata. It's like, and now I can see Deck did it the other day at the last couple of games, and I just think and it really, really frustrates me why he's in this weird Venn diagram of players we hate because he went to a different club. It frustrates me entirely because he carried that team for 3 years on his back, and it was a shit team for 3 years, and he carried them, and and it's frustrating because I don't think he's given the credit that he really deserves. And as you said, you shouldn't have to say it's a controversial thing, because actually he was Hammer of the Year 3 years in a row.
Exactly.
And people forget, Martin Peters went to Tottenham. You know what I mean? Bobby Moore wanted to go with him to Tottenham, and they've got a stand named after him. So it's funny how people, it's a guy sort of mentioned the other day. I got into a guy called Graham Watts, and he was like, if I was working for Ford's and I went to Vauxhall, my mates aren't gonna kick me out of the pub because I've gone to another club for more. And it's the same true. And I think people have this sort of nostalgic view of footballers that they stay at a club for 15, 20 years like Billy Bonds did and Alvin Martin did.
Anymore.
They don't do that no more. Mark Noble is the exception to the rule. If you get 3 years out of a play, you've done well. But it's those 3 years and how well you play for the team. If he went to bloody Liverpool, Scott Parker, we'd still be revering him in this sort of fantastic sort of light. But it's just, it could have been any other team. But anyway, rant over. Scott Parker's in. Who's next?
All right, so I'm going to go with my right winger or right midfielder, and that's Trevor Sinclair.
Yeah, tricky Trev.
Tricky Trev. I absolutely adored watching him play. This was obviously during more of my younger years. I must have been about 5 or 6, but he was someone that genuinely I loved watching. Super, super skillful. Did some outrageous things on his day. I mean, scored some unbelievable goals for us.
Yeah.
A couple of almost bicycle goals that he used to bang in the top corner. And he was just an unreal player for us. And during that time, there were a few Mavericks in that side, and he was one of them. And it was an absolute treat watching him play in Clarets and Blue. So Trev gets my vote.
He never seemed to score a tap-in. He never seemed to score a tap-in. Everything was, and he was the one. I always, when everyone talks about Trevor Sinclair, I always mention my granddad, God rest his soul. His eyesight was going, and so the only if something was done well by a West Ham player and they were black, he was Trevor Sinclair. It could have been Shaka Hislop had done the save, but because he was black and he was West Ham, only bloody play on the pitch, and I love Trevor Sinclair, and it's all right because we'll get a retweet because we put Trevor in the team, and that's what I mean. Trev loves a retweet. He loves a retweet.
I've seen that actually on your Twitter. I've seen it.
Do you know what? It's my one man mission to get Trevor Sinclair on the channel, and obviously I'm going to have to go for his agent eventually. But it's my one man mission, and bless Claire Lacey. She's tried as well from West Ham Women's. But to Trev, no, I love him. I love Trevor Sinclair. Okay, who's next, man?
Okay, so I'm going to go attacking midfielder. None other than good old Dimitri Payet.
I love him. I love him.
Yeah.
He's a great player.
I mean, listen, it obviously ended in a really sour manner, let's not lie, but he gave me my best ever season supporting West Ham, where I genuinely could not have been more enthralled and exhilarated watching us play. That season that he gave us in the last year at the Boleyn was the most special year I think I've ever had as a West Ham fan, and generally, that season, he was in the top 3 best players in the whole league, I'd say. He just ripped defenses apart. He was scoring free kick after free kick. He was beating David De Gea from 35 yards at Old Trafford. He was just doing the most outrageous things. Went on to play in the Euros for France and was their best player in that tournament. Yeah. And then, obviously, it ended really poorly. And we call him a snake and blah, 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 which is probably right. He did throw his toys out the cots and he could have gone about it a lot better. But at the end of the day, he was one of the best attacking midfielders to ever put on a West Ham shirt, in my opinion. So he takes the cake there.
Yeah. Best player I've ever seen him in a West Ham shirt. Technically the best player I've ever seen in the West Ham shirt. I mean, and again, he was one of those players that, I don't recall it ever happening ever before in my lifetime where all my non-West Ham mates wanted him in their team. We had the man. He was the man. He was like, I mean, I wasn't really into FIFA much then, but he would have been, like in team of the season card. Yeah, all these, and that never happens at West Ham. And he was the man. And as you said, the Euros, he was the man in the Euros as well. And we we made his career, really. I mean, he was a good player in France. Everyone heard of him because he was high in the stats, but no one really knew him. And he came to West Ham and got into the French team. He wasn't even in the French team when he joined. He left on a sour note. Unfortunately, with those players, they're mavericks, as you said. They're sort of this. They throw their toys at the pram. And we do get them occasionally, Arnie and people like that. But that's how Payet came to us as well. Was he went on strike almost in Marseille.
Exactly.
So it's like, what do you expect? He ain't gonna change. Don't change his spots. But as you said, it very rarely happens at West Ham that the stars align, and the stars aligned that season. We had the right manager, the right star player, the right relationship between the manager and the player, and it just worked. And for that season alone, I think he fits in, considering that how many people we've interviewed and stuff. And again, he was only there for really a season and a half, and the impact he made on West Ham was phenomenal. From day one, from that Arsenal game, he was playing straight away. No, I think I loved him. I thought he was a fantastic player. Okay, Dimmy's in. Who's next, man?
Dimmy's in. Okay, so I'm going to left midfielder, left winger. Probably not his preferred position, but I had to get him in, and that's Joe Cole.
Yeah, good shot.
Absolute baller for West Ham. Captained us at 21, 22. I don't know, can't remember. Yeah. He was proper West Ham boy. Went on to do some incredible things at other clubs, but during his time at West Ham, we were going through a really rocky patch, and he was the one player that really, held his hand up that season and rolled up his socks and said, "Listen, I'm going to give everything for the club." And he was another one of those maverick players that on his day could genuinely do whatever he wanted and he'd make it work. So Joe Cole is my pick on the left hand side.
I know what you mean, and it's a shame he bookended his career at West Ham. But I think we very rarely have players in their prime. Payet maybe is probably, and hopefully Bowen, and Souček, but it doesn't really happen. And you're right. And what I love about Joe is he's such a clear, and obviously from an analyst perspective, such as yourself, when he's on BT Sport and stuff like that, he speaks so highly of football. He's so intelligent, and I think he'll make a fantastic manager wherever he goes to eventually.
Definitely. Yeah, he speaks a lot of sense, I must say.
He does. Right. Okay, man. Continue, okay.
This front three would tear any defense to shreds. This front three is actually ridiculously good.
Here we go. So Mido, Ilian, and Guillermo Franco. Done. Thank you. Good night.
Done. Boom. Okay, so I'm going to start off with our Argentinian king, Mr. Carlos Tevez.
Obviously, Jonathan Caleri, but
I will never forget the day I was coming back from school. I must have been what, 11? No, even younger. Must have been 9 or 8. And one of the radio bulletins came up and they said West Ham have just signed Carlos Tevez and Javier Mascherano. And I went, what the hell? What is going on? This is mental. But Pardew had managed to get these deals over the line, God knows how. And I'll never forget when he joined West Ham, he was so overweight and so unfit.
Yeah.
And I remember watching Pardews' interview going, he knew he was getting an absolute baller, but he was actually genuinely worried about whether he'd be able to ever get on the field for West Ham.
Yeah.
Little did we know how much of an impact he was going to make in that final season. I think that's probably the second most special season that I've been a West Ham fan would be that one because of how we managed to pull off that great escape. God knows how we did it, but Tevez just engineered some absolute miracles for us and scored some important goals. who can forget that goal at Old Trafford on the final day to keep us up? Brilliant player. Absolutely world class.
It's funny. I've heard some really, because obviously we've interviewed a lot of ex players and stuff as well, and around that time, and I'm always intrigued. So I always ask them, what was it like? You know, like you turn up to Chadwell Heath, and like there's two Argentinians, and we had like feel like John Pansel, bless him, who was like, it was just football. Honestly, my eyes were like, wow. And we interviewed Anton Ferner, and he said how Carlos particularly really wanted to integrate himself within the West Ham way of doing stuff. So much so that he went to a night. They were like the boys were going out to a nightclub in London. He came along, but he came along with his interpreter. And so he's on the dance floor, like really giving it some. You can imagine, like proper Argentinian tango, you know, sweating buckets. And his little interpreter was there telling him what to, you know, it was just absolutely brilliant.
That's brilliant.
But it's funny, you ask these people, and even like the people, I've interviewed a few guys from the club, and about how it, you know, it was like, I don't know either. You know, it's like, I don't know how it happened, but it just did. And you're right. And I was like the man in the. I was all when it all came through. I was obviously in the office, and people were like, I was the talk of the water cooler. You know, I had the MD slap my back and say, "Well done." And I was like,
"Yeah,
cheers, yeah." I engineered that whole move myself. But they looked like they'd been kidnapped. I always think that. You look at that picture when there's Pardew with the two of them, and they're like squinting, like they've just come out of a, you know, like I don't know, some sort of tanker somewhere, and they come out like, hello. Right, now you've got to go to East London. You have to go and train at Chadwell Heath, just past the Moby Dick pub, and it's just, yeah, it was so bizarre. But as you said,
what I loved about him, is just whenever he came to Upton Park as opposition player, he'd always go over to the fans and do the crossed hammers. You know, it didn't matter. It didn't matter if he was playing for United or City or blah blah blah. I think he genuinely loved West Ham.
Yeah.
He still probably does. And
he does. It was the other day, wasn't it? He's 36 now, and he did say if it was the only team he'd go back to Europe is West Ham.
Exactly.
And he resurrected that. You know, I've seen people in the 70s and 80s do it, but I don't remember anyone doing it in sort of modern time until he came back and did it, and everyone started doing it again. But Carlitos Tevez, and then she said, for the first, you know, to be honest, he only really came alive that second half of the season. Really, you know, he was being played. I mean, it was only when Kirbishy came in and said, "Look, just don't." A bit like with Arnautovic, you know, when Moyes went, "Stop doing that. Just stay up front and just do stuff up front," you know, and that was it. And the same with Tevez, he didn't have to run like an idiot all the way around. But
absolutely,
he was brilliant, absolutely class. Okay, who's next, man?
Okay, cool. So my centre forward, I was probably about 5 or 6 at the time, but you can't not put this man in your team, and that's Paulo Di Canio. He is West Ham royalty, West Ham god. Generally, the stuff that he did on a football pitch would leave you breathless almost every week, and he's again someone that I can adore and love because I know he loves us back, and he genuinely has a real soft spot for West Ham and the fans, and he comes back for Nobes' testimonial. You often see him in the stands, especially in our last season at the Boleyn. So yeah, he's just West Ham royalty, probably one of the greatest, arguably, to play for West Ham, and he was an absolute treat to watch. Yeah. So for me, he was the first name on my team list because of how good he was.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, for me, Payet was, I've always said before, I think Payet was technically the best player we've seen, but I think Di Canio was the best player because you've almost got like a pie chart. You need like the technicality, and then you need the passion and the sort of the connection with the fans, and he just had it all. And as you said, you know, I mean, you know, I'm terribly phobic of needles, and he's got a West Ham tattoo, and I haven't got a West Ham tattoo, and so I'm like, well, fucking hell, man, that's, you know, that's more than me. Is proper. If you ink yourself, you proper.
He was a nutter. He was a nutter, but he was brilliant.
We love a nutter, don't we?
Exactly.
We like someone who's on that edge between genius and just craziness. And you know, sometimes he stepped off that edge. And again, you talk about Payet. We only got Di Canio because he pushed over a referee. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
we call a spade here, and that's what happened, man. But all right, PDC's in. Who's the last piece of the rich pie?
The last piece of the pie. This was actually the lad whose name, the first name I ever got printed on the back of a West Ham shirt was this lad, and it's none other than Bobby Zamora.
Oh,
Uh,
Z-Man.
Z-Man. I'll never ever forget that playoff final against Preston. Now I was in grade 2 at the time, so I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I remember, obviously, we'd got the whole family together. We were going to watch the game at my house, and there's my dad, my brother, myself swearing at the TV, going absolutely bananas. And Bobby pops up and scores the winner. And I remember I had a lot of homework due the next day. And I genuinely, when I didn't do it and got to school the next day, I genuinely said, "Ma'am, I must apologize, but West Ham were in the playoff final and we won, and that's why I haven't done my homework." And that was my excuse because I was on such a high after that game. That was like, we in the
Can't do
Premier
nothing,
League
innit?
now. There was
Yeah.
just the light at the end of the tunnel, and he was genuinely class on his day. There's some of the things that he
Oh, he
used to
was.
do,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
goals he used to score, special player. And again, he's another lad that speaks so highly of West Ham and the club and the fans. So for that, he has all my respect.
I mean, some players have a knack of scoring, and he just had a knack. I remember the season we went up. If I remember, for the first sort of 2 or 3 months, he was top goal scorer in the Premier League, and I don't remember him scoring like a goal. It was like it'd come off his head or his bum or his chest, but he just had a knack. And you're right, when he was in a really good vein of form then, and I think. Yeah, he's a lovely bloke as well, and he loves his fishing.
Yep.
Hell of a fisher. Um, so, but yeah, I know what you mean. He's just like West Ham, and again, I love a player who ends up having a song. And obviously, you said you got Di Canio, he had a song, and Joe had a song, and and Zamora had his song, and it's something about you get a certain status as a player, and you get a song made out. You get to Empire, and and I love players who have their own songs, and obviously Zamora had more than one, based on every bloody place he went to. But no, it was good. Oh, pardon me, it was good, man. No, it's good fun. Rich, man, been absolutely brilliant, man. I told you, time flies when you're having fun.
That
51
was
minutes.
magnificent. Love that. Really love that, Raf.
It's been great, man. Thank you so much for your time, and obviously thank you to everyone else for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Obviously, going over to the Irons United stuff as well. Cracking content at the moment. And from me and Rich, take care, everybody. Stay safe. Come on, you Irons. Got to do that as well. That's it. Come on, you Irons.
Yeah.
And until next time, everyone, stay safe. We'll see you again very, very soon. Bye bye.